right? Being nice just makes life so much easier. And look, I learned the hard way. I had to have my partner, Todd, came to me one day and he goes, I like to curse. He goes, I don't care about cursing, but you curse too much. Not everybody's as accepting as cursing as you are. Calm the f down. And I took that to heart. Not so much the cursing part, but it became apparent to me that the nicer I got, the more effective people around me got, the more productive they got, the more sales we had. I was undervaluing nice. You know, I started my first company after I got fired from a job, and I was 24, just turned 24. My first real company, if you will. And I was always go, 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 all consumed, right? Live it, eat it, sleep it, breathe it. And I knew people couldn't keep up or work as hard as many hours as me, but I wanted them to.
Back in the day when PCs first came out, there were people here that would do the accounting with the eye shades on, and they would have a pen and they were writing a ledger. And they would add things up on a 10-key ledger. Then spreadsheets came along and you put it on a PC. Then you connected the PCs together. But back then, we automated manual processes. Now, fast forward, you know, we're about to enter the phase where we automate the process of automation. Now think about what that means. You know, software. I wrote code for 8 years. Software is just math, right? And you know, when math can pre-calculate or math can configure or learn how to do all the possible combinations of math and write software and optimize a program without human intervention.
And we were successful and we didn't have much turnover, but I could have done a better job if I were nicer. And broadcast.com, I got a little bit nicer, right, as things. But then once I got to the Mavs and some of these other companies, and Todd reminded me, you know, and really told me, you know, just nice works. And so when you find yourself going to work, when you're finding yourself dealing with customers, when you're finding yourself making decisions, we all get that agita, right? That feeling in our stomach, that tenseness, that stress at various points in times that we all have to go through. But sometimes you just need to calm the f down, right? Take a deep breath and be nice.
That's the process of automating automation. And that's what's going to happen. And so what looks like a great job now might not be a great job in 10 years. And when it applies to liberal arts, when you're automating automation and deep learning and machine learning and AI is such a critical part of not just work, but our lives, medicine, whatever, then there's going to be a need for people who can critically evaluate information. Lots of information, people who have learned how to learn and learn how to continue to process new information and have a variety of viewpoints. And so I think the value of a liberal arts major, while there'll be that dead period, if you will, over the next 10 years, I think it'll increase exponentially, because when you have so much, look, you know, you walk through the library here and you look at the vast number of books.
Describe you. I was saying, you know, entrepreneur, Dallas Mavericks owner, Shark Tank star. You do it all, Mark.
Yeah. I don't know about that, but entrepreneur, that works.
You know, you and I were talking earlier today on one of the panels, and you made some really fascinating points about innovation right now in this country, and all that needs to be done to encourage it, to encourage small businesses. What do you think overall is the most important thing for new entrepreneurs right now?
Just to go after it. I mean, the thing about being an entrepreneur is it's just all to you. You know, a lot of people like to make excuses. I don't have connections, I don't have money, I don't have this, but you know, if you find something that you like to do or love to do, be great at it and see if you can turn it into a business. In worst case, you're going to have fun doing what it is you love to do. In best case, you can turn it into a business. I'm just not big on excuses. I just think if everybody has that opportunity to go for it. They just got to do it.
Lost his eye in an accident doing upholstery. He had a staple break when he was putting some covering on a car seat. You know, it was a middle-class upbringing. My mom did odd jobs. You know, they just wanted something better. I mean, my grandparents came over from Russia, and you know, my dad was the first generation. My uncles were the first generation Americans, like my mom too. And you know, like every child of immigrants, they wanted better for their kids.
You know, it's funny. I mean, a lot of people grow up that way, right? But not many people end up like you. So what do you think that's the result of?
I think, you know, everybody's got something that they're good at, and the hard part is just finding it. And I found out early that I was a good salesperson, that I really liked business. You know, like I like sports. I mean, I read everything I possibly could, played sports as much as I could, just wasn't as good as I wanted to be. And business was the same way. I mean, as long as I could remember, I was buying and selling baseball cards, garbage bags, whatever I could find, stamps, to collectors. But I was also reading everything I possibly could about business. And, you know, I was that unusual kid that I'd rather read about Ted Turner than go to the movies. And so I think that created a foundation. And my parents didn't always, my dad used to always say, I don't understand what you're doing, but I'm glad you're doing it. And so I had my ups and downs along the way, of course. But I just think that I just put in the time and was fortunate enough to really get excited about business, and that paid off benefits over the long haul.
You're going to have such a huge advantage. No matter what your technology is, no matter how it compares, even if it's a download for an app, people will still have to deal with you. Your culture will come through. Being nice, being supportive, reducing stress, that all comes through even in an app.
Fiat X19 that had a hole in the floorboard. I mean, you could tell I was living the high life, right? I mean, and I was putting in oil every 60 miles and, you know, working as a bartender at night. What did I have to lose? Right. You know, and so it wasn't like, oh man, you know, I could lose all this. And so, yeah. And so it was just like, you just go for it. Now, later on, after I'd had some success and we got back and we started AudioNet, which turned into broadcast.com, the math was different. The equations, you know, the calculus was different. It was like, okay, I'm investing a lot of my saved money into this whole idea of netcasting, right, or internet broadcasting.
I couldn't get financing for a car. There was a car on the roadway that I kind of liked, and it was obviously abandoned. I hunted down the bank that had done the financing for it and said, like, I think I found a car that you financed. Can I have it? And that's how I got a car when I first moved to Dallas. And so when I remember waking up days going, oh my God, right, is this going to happen?
In early 1995, when people didn't even know what the internet was, that was all risk, because I literally was putting everything that I had on the line for something. People just laughed at me and said, wait, audio over the internet? You know you can turn on the radio. You know you can turn on a TV. Yeah, but you don't get it. No, that's just dumb, all right? You know, and so being able to overcome all that resistance, because remember back then, A, you had to have a PC. B, you had to know what a modem was and install it. C, you had to know what the internet was, and then you had to download a TCP/IP client that worked over a modem and then connected to a browser that you probably didn't even know what it was or how to download it. And we had to take it on faith that all this was going to grow.
You know, there were 6 of us living in a 3-bedroom apartment. One day, the way we would do it back then, we'd all write checks to one person who would then deposit it in their account and then write the landlord a check, because that would buy us time with the float, right? Back then, so it would give us an extra couple days to get the money to deposit in our accounts. Guy named Dave O'Brien, Dobie, one day just took those checks. I have not seen him since. And it's like, what do you do? You know, and for whatever reason, I mean, I never got pissed. I never got, you know, upset. It was just like, you know, this is it, right? I just got to go. I just got to do. And I just got to keep on grinding.
Right, because there's so many uncertainties involved with starting a business, yet the one certainty that you'll have to have is paying back your loan. And the bank doesn't care about your business, or whoever you borrow from, unless it's family, doesn't care about your business. You know, and so it's just a complete conflict. So
what should a small business entrepreneur
99% of small businesses you can start with next to no capital. It's more about effort. You know, small businesses don't fail for lack of capital. They fail for lack of brains. They fail for lack of effort. Most people just aren't willing to put in the time to work smart. I mean, they go for it in a lot of cases, but they just don't recognize how much work's involved. And if you do the preparation, if you start a business, you better know your industry and your company better than anyone in the whole wide world, because you're competing. And to think that whoever it is you're competing with is just going to let you come in and take their business, obviously that's naive, and I think most people don't recognize that. If you're going to compete with me on one of my businesses, you better realize that I'm working 24 hours a day to kick your ass.